Over the years, numerous iconic sites and landmarks have been lost, often due to urbanization, the mounting costs of upkeep, or the devastating effects of natural disasters. Between 1880 and 1920, American cities experienced industrial growth, leading to the demolition of many older buildings to make room for more modern structures. Similarly, in the post-war era, buildings once seen as technical marvels were deemed outdated and torn down. In this article, we explore some of the most remarkable architectural gems that no longer exist, including train stations, offices, hotels, and more. Though these structures are gone, we can still appreciate them through the photographs that capture their former glory. One of the most significant losses was Pennsylvania Station in New York City. Opened in 1910, Penn Station was designed by McKim, Mead, and White and became an architectural masterpiece of the Beaux-Arts style. The station was demolished in 1963, sparking the modern historic preservation movement. What remains today is a much smaller and less iconic version of Penn Station beneath Madison Square Garden and Pennsylvania Plaza. Another lost landmark is Mark Hopkins' mansion in San Francisco. Commissioned by railroad magnate Mark Hopkins in the 1870s, this grand Victorian palace was still under construction when Hopkins died in 1878. The mansion, perched on Nob Hill, was tragically destroyed in the 1906 earthquake and subsequent fires. On Long Island, Beacon Towers, built for Alva Belmont in 1917, was a Gothic fantasy inspired by Spanish alcazars and medieval castles. The mansion had about 60 main rooms and more than 140 in total. It was demolished in 1945, though some remnants of the estate, including the original gatehouse, survive. The Chicago Federal Building, designed by Henry Ives Cobb and completed in 1905, was a Beaux-Arts beauty. The building, which housed federal courts, post offices, and other government offices, stood for 6 decades before being demolished in 1965 to make way for the Kluczynski Federal Building, a much more modern structure. In San Francisco, Cliff House, rebuilt in 1896 by Adolph Sutro, was a popular Victorian chateau known as the Gingerbread Palace. Surviving the 1906 earthquake, the Cliff House was tragically destroyed by fire in 1907, forever altering the landscape of Sutro Heights. In Cincinnati, the Old Cincinnati Library, built in 1874, was a stunning building with 5 levels of cast iron shelving, a marble foyer, and a skylit atrium. It was razed in 1955, replaced by a modern library at 800 Vine Street. The Schiller Theatre Building in Chicago, designed by Louis Sullivan and Dankmar Adler, was a masterpiece of theatre design. It was eventually renamed the Garrick Theatre and became a movie house in the 1930s. After decades of decline, it was demolished in 1961 to make way for a parking structure, an event that sparked the first significant preservation efforts in Chicago. The Singer Building in New York City, completed in 1908, was an iconic skyscraper and the tallest building in the world for a brief time. Located in Lower Manhattan, the Singer Tower was demolished between 1967 and 1969 to make room for the One Liberty Plaza office building. Lastly, the Detroit City Hall, which stood from 1871 to 1961, was an architectural gem in the Italian Renaissance Revival style. It was demolished to make way for modern developments, with the clock tower being the last piece to come down in September 1961. These lost landmarks represent the changing face of cities and the cost of progress. While the buildings themselves are gone, their legacies live on through photographs and the stories they tell about our architectural and cultural history.